In the early Middle Ages, the land that is modern-day Russia was inhabited by various East Slavic tribes. The Vikings from Scandinavia, referred to as Varangians, began moving into the area in the 9th century and establishing trade routes. Rurik was a Varangian chieftain who arrived in the area around Lake Ladoga in 862 and established Novgorod in the 860s with his brothers, Truvor and Cineas. Rurik began the Rurik dynasty and founded the Kievan Rus, the earliest precursor state of modern Russia. Rurik does have a near mythical status as the founder of Russia. His origin, family, and identity are still unknown. Most knowledge about Rurik and the Varangians comes from a document known as the Primary Chronicle, which was compiled by monks in the 12th century and that details the early history of Russia from around 850 to 1110. The Primary Chronicle is a questionable historical source due to the blurriness between legend and fact present, but still, it is the best document available. Rurik died in 879 and was succeeded by another Varangian, Oleg. The relationship between Rurik and Oleg is unclear. Oleg is very important, as in 882 he seized the city of Kiev in modern Ukraine from the control of the Turkic Khazars. Kiev had a strategic location on the Dnieper River, and it became the capital of the eponymous Kievan Rus. Oleg continued uniting the local Slavic tribes throughout the rest of his rule.
Overlapping with all these events, the Rus was periodically raiding the wealthy and powerful Byzantine Empire to the south. As such, beginning around 860, missionaries were sent by Constantinople to convert the Slavs. Among these missionaries was Cyril, who created the Cyrillic alphabet out of the Greek alphabet by reverse engineering the sounds of the Slavic languages. The Cyrillic alphabet is still in use in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus today. The major turning point of Christianity in the Kievan Rus came under the reign of Vladimir the Great. Initially a pagan king, the Primary Chronicle contends that in 987, Vladimir sent envoys out to investigate the religions in the lands nearby. Orthodox Christianity was viewed incredibly favorably, and Byzantine churches, like the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, as well as the Byzantine rituals, were considered especially beautiful. However, by this point, the Rus were already leaning heavily towards Constantinople, due to a century plus of receiving missionaries. As such, Emperor Basil II of the Byzantine Empire married off his sister Anna to Vladimir to secure an alliance as well as make official the conversion of the Rus to Orthodoxy. Vladimir began destroying all traces of paganism and began constructing churches in the Rus in 988 after his conversion. The process of conversion wasn't entirely smooth, however, as resistance to the new religion from pagans was still present. A particularly violent pagan rebellion occurred in Novgorod in 1071. The Kievan Rus was eventually conquered by the Mongols in the 13th century, as Kiev fell in 1240. Under Mongol rule, large-scale Mongol settlement did not occur, and the Rus, like most lands conquered by the Mongols, was allowed to maintain its own culture and identity. The next 200 years under Mongol rule were relatively peaceful, but instability set in as heavy taxation occurred, and new warfare saw the Mongol Empire splinter. One of the longest-lasting overall effects of Mongol rule was the shift of the economic, cultural, and political center of the East Slavic peoples from Kiev to Moscow. Thus, when the end of Mongol rule came in the late 15th century, the stage was set for the birth of Russia.